Big Blue Nation, welcome back to another episode of the Bluegrass Breakdown, KY Insider's weekly sports podcast talking about everything Kentucky. I'm joined once again by my man AJ Nava. He's here to talk some Kentucky basketball with me here. We saw a crazy game at Tennessee. And I want to kind of jump back to that super quick because when we were there, I thought we saw an atmosphere that was one of the best in college basketball.
It was awesome.
I thought that coming off that LSU win, I think BBM was kind of weary because LSU wasn't the best team, and you're like, you had to have a miracle buzzer beater by Malachi Moreno to even get by. And then you go down so early against Tennessee despite that little surge that happened by Jasper Johnson.
Yeah.
AJ, what did you see in that Tennessee game that you think maybe kind of changed the season a little bit? Because it felt like a turning point for me, that whole second half comeback and everything that was around it.
I mean, it was a turning point. Really, that whole game was a turning point. It was so crazy, the energy that was in the arena. I mean, you know the history between these two teams. It's a long one. Last year, Ortega had 20 versus Tennessee, and then coming into this one, there was just a lot to go off of, and it was a rough start for Kentucky. No one was really getting to their spots. No one could really get the ball down the bottom of the net, and so that second half, it really just solidified their nickname of the second half Cats. Going into it and just having to claw uphill and work their way. And what it really was that the offense flowed so much better because of the communication between the guys. Ortega, Owe, and Colin Chandler, they were getting to their spots. Right. And that's the main thing for Kentucky, I think. That's really why their offense doesn't shine as much. They force shots. They think too much. They're not really comfortable. Right. Their feet aren't set. But that's really what it was in the second half. That's how they got to outscoring Tennessee by as much as they did.
Yeah, that first half, they were really running into each other. Like, I was right there on the court. You could see them just.
It was bad.
How unorchestrated it was, and the half-court offense wasn't there.
No.
But then second half, I think the defense honed in, and we all know defense leads to offense.
Yep.
Kentucky's easily become one of the best transition teams in the country.
I mean, they have to be because, like we mentioned before, the half-court offense hasn't been what it needs to be.
Right. So when they get out to those type of opportunities, and you have to, when a team has to guard Colin and Ortega that's driving at you full speed, it's like, one of them's either going to get off a dunk like we saw in the final moments against Tennessee. Colin's going to poke out a step, throw it up to Ortega, easy and one. Although he misses the free throw, it creates so many opportunities for Kentucky. I think, like we said, that game was momentum. It was a shift because you have 10 in a row, or 2 in a row. Sorry. That third conference game in a row, beating Mississippi State, beating LSU, beating Tennessee. And then you have Texas coming to Rupp Arena. And that's one where you're like, okay, we don't want to be the second half Cats anymore. We don't want to have to come back from down 12 or down 14 or whatever it may be. And I think you really called for that. And the Wildcats got tired of that little nickname, and I think they finally came out and had a good first half. Tied 40-40 at the break. And I know, you were there. Can you kind of talk about what you saw from both teams that were up?
Yeah, that Texas game, I want to call it like how I did after the game. It's the type of basketball that you bring your friend who's not a hoops fan to the game to kind of bring them in and make them a fan, because it was such a offense transition kind of game where Texas would go on a 2 to 3 minute scoring run, and then right after that was done, boom, it was Kentucky's turn to go 6-0, 7-0, 8-0 run, and both teams just going back and forth. They made for great basketball. It made for great transition highlights. I mean, I know everyone saw that ESPN highlight of Ortega baptizing the Texas big. It was fun. It was just a fun game to watch in the first half. But what I loved the most was that They finally didn't go into a second half down double digits. It was the first time they had done it in the past 3 games. And they had not full control, but something that they had in the second half that they haven't really had all season was some control in the second half, especially on the defensive side. They switched their mindset because Mark Pope, he's a smart coach. He knows that taking turns going on scoring runs isn't going to win the game.
Yeah, right.
So what they did, they managed to be the first ones to go on a scoring run in the second half, and then it was, hey, defense now. We're going to lock up Texas. We're going to do what we need to do. Texas only had the lead twice in that second half, only led for 7 minutes the entire game. That's really what changed, is the defensive mindset in the second half, and how that happened is having a good first half.
Yeah, I think ball fans know that Texas is a good squad, and they have scores, and they have people who can light it up from deep, and we saw that a little bit, but like you said, Kentucky answered. Kentucky would at least answer with their own run after Texas went on one. Like I said, tied at 40 at the break. That's probably relieving for some fans when you look at Texas and you're like, okay, they've beat Vanderbilt, undefeated Vanderbilt. They beat Alabama. They've beat really good squads.
I will
They're
say
capable.
Texas is a up and down kind of team.
Yeah,
you know?
Of course. They were 11-7 coming into the game, but still, any game the SEC is not given.
No.
And I think for once we saw Kentucky beat a team straight up, and I think that's very relieving for a lot of fans going
fans were
forward.
tired of calling them the second half cats,
Right.
you know?
Even Mo D was well, I guess he didn't know that they were called the second half cats.
Yeah, I asked a bunch of the guys after the game. I was like, hey, first time in however long that you guys aren't down double digits. Mo, do you think the cardiac cats second half cats era is over? And first thing he said to me was, they called us that? And I was like,
that's hilarious.
Yeah. And that just shows a guy who's too locked into the game to be focused on the outside noise, and that's a great sign.
Yeah, it's a great sign. I will say, with this Ole Miss squad coming into town, we have a game change. It's now at 11 a.m. instead of noon for some weathery conditions coming in.
That
the
snow.
snow apocalypse is coming.
Man.
And
are you ready for the snow?
no, not at all. I'm not a snow guy. I like being warm and cozy, but
poor Kelly, our reporter, he has to go into Rupp Arena an hour early now to cover that Ole Miss game.
That means doors open early for fans an hour early, though. So hey,
I mean, shout out you guys. You get to go early.
But this Ole Miss team is deep, and I know their record may not scream that they're an insane team, but like I said earlier,
11-8.
The SEC is not always a given game. I think Malik Dia and AJ Storr do a really good job over there.
Yeah, both averaging 13 points on pretty good shooting splits.
Yeah, they really know how. Sometimes they have games where they don't stick to their game, if that makes sense. They don't stick to what works, and they try and
to where
do
they try
too much.
something else. Yep.
Yeah, but at the same time, they are still dangerous. Since Storr's time at Wisconsin, he's been an elite scorer. I think with the pace of Kentucky, he could easily have 20 in this game. But
if
outside of that, unless Travis Perry, the KHSA,
the return,
all-time leading scorer, returns to Rupp Arena and somehow wants to have a legacy game and
he very well
really
could.
stick it to him. But I think Kentucky should handle this Ole Miss squad well, given their momentum. The Rebels went on a little run in the middle of January that they almost got the best of Arkansas,
which is a great team. They were ranked very 20 when that happened.
Yeah, and then they have a little 3-game win streak here where they beat Missouri at home by 7. They go on the road at Georgia's kind of making a name for themselves in the basketball world.
Yep.
Beat them 97-95 in overtime. And then they travel to Mississippi State just 3 days later and beat them by a single point. That little 3-game span, Ole Miss was kind of looking dangerous. And, we always kind of try and keep up with all the other SEC teams because we know who's coming on the schedule for the Wildcats. But then they drop one to Auburn by 12 at home. Auburn's a good team, but that's what felt like, okay, Ole Miss kind of got away from what they're good at, and they dropped one. So now with Kentucky winning 4 conference games in a row, they're red hot. I don't see a world where Ole Miss just storms into Rupp Arena and beats them straight up.
No.
I think it'll be a high-scoring game. I think we'll see a new identity from Kentucky because, unfortunately, another injury has struck the team. Cam Williams broke his foot against Texas. That's another guy out for the foreseeable future, joining Jalen Lowe and
JQ right now.
So the injury bug struck again, and now Kentucky has to readjust. I'm assuming that Trent Noah is probably going to get some more minutes at the forward position.
Probably.
I'd say probably Colin Chandler's thrown back in that starting lineup, and Otega's moved back to the 3.
I mean, he had a great game versus Texas, so I wouldn't be surprised if he gets thrown in.
But we've seen that lineup this year, and, it was all right. I wouldn't say it's the best. Having depth is important, so we'll have to see if there's any unsung heroes. I remember when they were dealing with injuries last year, Colin Chandler was a guy in tournament time who stepped up and produced a big game and dropped double-digit points. So maybe he's still the hero.
Possibility, yeah.
Or maybe Trent's the hero or someone like that. We'll see. But I think as a team, I think Mark Pope's brought them together quite well. I think they're meshing, starting to figure all of it out.
And they finally got that first taste of the team that they need to be with that Texas win.
Exactly.
And not having to claw back. So now that they have, the idea of we did what we've been needing to do versus a solid team, let's go out and do it again. And yes, they have no Cam, but they've been dealing with the inconsistencies of a lineup all season. So having to reload and, replan is nothing new to them. So I don't think that it'll be a huge loss in that sense. But with Ole Miss, they have a solid chance to turn this into a 5-game win streak going into Vandy, going into who's after Vandy? Arkansas.
Yeah, so Kentucky has a gauntlet schedule coming up. It'll be good to have 5 in a row on your back when you're heading into enemy territory.
It'll be great.
Someone who's not doing too well in enemy territory is the women's basketball team. They've now dropped 2 in a row on the road, 1 to Mississippi State and 1 against a very good number 17 Tennessee squad. But I know that game was super, super ugly.
It was rough.
Hard to watch.
It's a weird flip on the season we kind of got right now. We're singing our praises to the men, but we're criticizing the women now. And
it was the other way around a couple weeks ago.
Hey, you asked me a month ago to talk about basketball. It's a completely different conversation.
I will say with the women's team, it's so – I don't want to say they got lucky, but I'm glad they played LSU and teams like that when they did. They knocked off LSU
in one of the best ways possible.
And then, Tiani Key goes down. You lose at Bama. But you still beat like a number 5 Oklahoma team. But getting to my point, it was at home. When you're not at HMC and surrounded by all these Kentucky fans, what's your identity? And I don't want to, say that it's all based off Tiani Key, but she's an important part of that team. She's an enforcer. She's someone who can do everything on the court.
A veteran. She's a vocal leader out there as well. So, she's kind of directing traffic sometimes. She's yelling at her teammates, hey, you got this, we're good, we're in it. And, she brings that type of energy. And when you lose that on the court, I know she can still do it from the bench, but when you lose it on the court, it's a huge loss in what your team is. And that shows completely. I mean, now 2 unranked losses on the season, 3 in the SEC, and this loss versus Tennessee, it was Kai, ask me how much I enjoyed watching that Tennessee game.
How much did you enjoy watching that Tennessee game?
Absolutely, not even a little bit.
You compared it to Kyra Elzy era?
Kai,
That's bad.
I went to Kentucky versus South Carolina inside Rupp Arena during the Elzy era. I had a better time there than I had watching this Tennessee game.
You know what? Don't think we're bullying this team right now because Coach Brooks after the game was just as irate about the team's performance. He said, I believe that he thinks they set women's basketball as a sport back 15 years with this game. And that is, I don't want to laugh, but that is the most, like, direct, like, we suck tonight quote I've ever heard. And I guess that's, we know Coach Brooks, and we know how incredible he is.
Mm-hmm.
So he's trying to set this standard that he's one of the ones. And I think he's one of the ones.
Yeah. I mean,
but this is
he
a rough
knows what
stretch.
this team is.
Yeah, but this is just a rough stretch where they have to figure everything out and, you know, at least work it out now, because it's late January, right?
Yeah.
You have another month or so until you're really getting into worrying about what your seed is and, you know, who you're facing up against SEC tournament. So they have a lot of time.
Yeah.
They have time to get Tiani back and healthy. They have time for kind of what we were seeing from the men's basketball side, where the half-court offense maybe isn't, you know, insanely good, where it's just like give Tony Morgan the ball and hope, you know, something happens. But it'll come, and I think they've had opportunities to show how good they can be. So I think that's what's frustrating for the women basketball fans right
this
now.
Women's team hasn't had opportunities to show how good they are. They have shown how good they are. And I will say that's why I'm so critical of them right now. That's why Kenny Brooks is so mad, because this is the same team that dropped off number 21 Louisville in Louisville. This is the same team that dropped 101 versus Morgan State. They're just down one player, and now everything's slowly falling apart. I mean, in that first quarter of Tennessee, 7 field goals made by both teams. It was an awful, awful watch. Tony Morgan really wasn't scoring the ball up until the final 3 minutes of the fourth quarter. The turnovers from Kentucky, from the miscommunication and the, I'll just say it plain out, carelessness of taking care of the ball. This isn't the team that anyone's used to seeing this year or last year, and they have to clean it up.
Still undefeated at home. They return home against Georgia on Sunday.
Unranked Georgia.
January 25th, so that should be a good game to bounce back. We'll see if the Wildcats can sweep the weekend and defend home court across both basketball teams.
Do you wonder if they're going to do a time change on the HMC game, with it being on Sunday with all the snow we're going to get?
I'm not sure. They haven't said anything yet, but
poor me, I have to go in there in the snow.
But you know, with the men's being changed an hour before, I wouldn't be surprised if they played around with it a little bit.
Not at all.
But we shall see, and we'll keep y'all updated.
Absolutely.
Make sure to follow us on KY Insider for all that breaking news.
We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We're on TikTok. And, of course, we're on Facebook, our most popular app.
Of course. And then, you know, we also have our website, kyinsider.com. We try and post updated stories and get everything out for you all as quick as possible. So make sure to go check that out, and also tune in every week for brand new episodes of this podcast. Once again, I've been Kai McClellan.
I'm AJ Nava.
And we'll see y'all in the next one.